This is the Senior Beat. I'm your host, Duff Ryder. Over the past few years, we've seen an explosion of new products, new ideas, and new forms of expression that define the lifestyles of today's seniors. At the Senior Beat, we bring you artists, entrepreneurs, musicians, and business leaders who are active participants in this reimagining of the senior experience. Our guest today, Anita Varelas, is one of those entrepreneurs who is helping to shape a new reality for today's seniors. Anita, welcome to the Senior Beat.
Hi, thank you.
It's so great to see you. You look
Yeah,
wonderful, as
thank you
always.
very much. Always good to see you.
Great. Okay. So we've known you some time now, as a senior living marketing and sales executive, but you have an interesting backstory. And maybe we could kind of dive into that a little bit. Maybe you could just kind of give us sort of how you originally got interested in working with seniors.
Sure. So I actually started at a very young age. I was 15 when I started in the senior living industry. I started as a waitress in San Leandro, in California. And I've always had a love for seniors. And so it was very natural for me. Growing up, I grew up with multiple of my grandparents and my great-grandparents in my household. So they were a really big part of my life. Yeah, in my household. And throughout my life, whenever we would move to a new neighborhood, my dad would always adopt the seniors in our neighborhood, and we would go over and play cards with them and chess. And my dad would pick up their yard and we'd help my dad. And he always taught me to have the utmost respect for seniors. And I saw that he thought of the seniors in our neighborhoods as his friends, and that was very easy for me as well. And so, when I started at 15, it felt very right to be among seniors and, hearing their stories and really serving them, because those are the values that I was taught and that I grew up with. And throughout that time, I was promoted to receptionist, and I really watched the sales and marketing department, and I really loved what they did and how they really helped the families in a difficult time to go through the options. So I got into sales inside the senior living communities. And since then, I've held numerous roles. I've done inside sales, senior living. I've done operational. I've had a regional role where I work for several communities in several different states. And, I absolutely love it. And it's been about 20 years now.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. And I think that kind of really set you up for, what is now, obviously you want to take a broader role, it's something a little bit larger than what you've been doing in the past, which was a little bit more narrow. At least as I read it, and so let's break down the name of your company, Neighborly Senior Placement. Neighborly is an unusual descriptor. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I love it. It really speaks to a lot of my moral values and what my company is. And I came to the name because I am very local. When I wanted to describe what my company is, I really wanted someone to see me as their neighbor, as I am very local to the Bay Area, and I have been my entire life. And the neighborly feel of, someone being there like a friend and having warmth to it and really helping you through a process. So it was really important to me to, of all the names, to pick out something that was very meaningful and aligned with my moral values. So I'm local, been in the Bay Area, born and raised. I've been in senior living in the Bay Area over 20 years now. So I ask people, think of me as your neighbor who knows everything and everybody in senior living to really help you through that process.
Yeah. Neighborly is just such a wonderful word. It sort of denotes warmth and really a connection, which I think is definitely part of who you are as I know you.
Thank you.
how you want to interact with the people that you're serving. So
Mhm.
let's maybe you could talk a little bit. I mean, you see clients grapple, firsthand with that house that seems so big once the
Mhm.
children leave and start their own families, and upkeep can be a real chore. And certainly cooking is not that fun when you're cooking for one.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, a lot of my clients are in similar situations, especially in the Bay Area, on the peninsula, in San Francisco, throughout the Bay Area. Everyone has been in their home for 50 plus years. Their
Mhm.
families have grown up here. Their children have moved out quite some time ago, and it's either them or, the two of them with their partner. And they're really not utilizing the space like they once did. And the task and the upkeep of cleaning the home, of going grocery shopping, as that is a big task later in life,
Mhm.
and cooking and preparing meals is quite hard. And so I have a lot of clients that, come to the point where they say, this is either too much to manage or I just don't want to manage it anymore. I would rather be enjoying a social atmosphere than worrying about the upkeep of my home that I'm really not utilizing. And
Right.
so
So let me
helping.
just interrupt here.
Yeah.
So that idea, I think of, there's an important social aspect to
Hmm.
making these placements, I think is
Hmm.
really important. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. When you're in your home, your interaction is very limited, and it can be quite depressing. And so the element of having a social lifestyle is really important. It really helps people to be happy and to thrive, and maybe pursue things that were once hobbies that they haven't participated in some time, meeting new friends and other colleagues. Sometimes, or a lot of times, one of the important things is, they might have been an attorney or a physician or a teacher in their lifetime, and they would really value those connections of connecting with others with a similar background, so that they can, just enjoy life and conversation and reminisce. So having that social lifestyle is really, really important. And that's something that you can't get at home. And so a lot of the communities, they really promote a social atmosphere with providing a lot of different activities and outings to the theater, and really helping to find what it is that the residents have a passion for, and making that come to life. And a lot of these communities do really, really well with kind of figuring out what's important to their residents and really helping them to live those things out.
You touched upon something which I think not all senior living communities do this, but the idea of people who have retired from their main job, many of them are interested in community service, right? If you've been a
Mhm.
teacher, or if you've been this or you've been that.
Mhm.
And I know some communities actually include that as part of their enrichment programs, things like
They
that.
do. Yeah, I've had so many clients that were judges, and, giving them um, kind of oversight and presenting ideas and letting them be the judge of those things, and using their expertise to really help those who may have some questions was really something that they valued. I've also had writers who the communities did really well with, helping them to edit documents. And, they even continue to write books, and the
Mhm.
community would support them in those ways and getting them published and helping them with the various details. Um, Artists, hosting um, open houses and where they can display their artwork, and just so many different things. And that's really wonderful and valued, that the corporations and the communities really make the time to find out what's important and help people to continue to live something that's important to them.
That is just so great. I I was thinking though, now maybe everyone understands what senior placement is, I think, but what sets you apart from national placement agencies like A Place for Mom. How are you guys different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There certainly are large national companies that have a very strong online presence. And, we're finding that the majority of people who are looking for senior living, whether that's the senior or their children looking for senior living options, we're all doing it online now. And so, more than 80% of people are hopping online. And, they're finding the large corporations. But what really helps set me apart and the local placement is that I am local, and I have been to more than 200 of the senior living communities
Wow.
within the Bay Area. And, over the span of 20 years, I've seen, the new ones be built. I've seen the older ones be renovated. I know the team. Majority of people in senior living, close colleagues, we've known each other over 15 years, some 20 years. I
Mhm.
know the strengths, I know the weaknesses. I know each community is unique, and it's more than just a pretty building. Each one provides a different level of care, a different level of training for their staff members, a different level of expectations. There's also different financial elements to them. And this can be very, very overwhelming to any senior or their loved one jumping online, doing a Google search to see what's in their area, or hopping on one of the sites for the large national brands that may point them in the direction and say, hey, this is in the general area that you're looking for, maybe even in your price range. But there's so many variables that really I drill down on, and I know like the back of my hand, and each person is unique, and there's certainly a unique community for them. And so there's just not one community. So,
Right.
knowing all those things, because I am local and I have spent so much time here, I also know, the key players in the industry. We're on a first name basis, and, I really help to expedite the process and really make it easier.
Mhm. Well, let's take a look at that, the whole placement process from start to finish. What are the steps you take with each potential client, and what involvement do their adult children typically have? How's that work?
Yeah. In most cases, it starts with an initial phone call. Usually, clients find me by other healthcare professionals, whether it's their doctor or hospital, or various other professionals that know me and that have worked with me. So, our initial phone call is when I speak to the family or the senior, and really, I'd like to make them comfortable with knowing that they're going to tell me a lot of really personal information,
Ah,
and they
really
have to
thinking about
have
that. It's true.
yeah. And they have to have a comfort level of knowing that, I've helped hundreds of people, seniors in the Bay Area, to find the perfect senior living option for them and help them through that process. And I have a knowledge base. And that, I'm here to help. And so I spent some time explaining what it is that I do and how I can help them. And then my level of expertise. And then it's really important that I learn more about them. So, there's usually a prompt, something that prompted them to make that call to me. What's going on in your life right now? Has there been any type of change? Is your home being
Lose a
too?
spouse or
Mhm.
anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, what is important to them when they're looking for a community? What type of things do they need help with at this time? What are the social engagement activities that might be important to them? And so, really drilling down and having that conversation and learning about them. Some of the questions that I ask are, what did you enjoy? Do you have any hobbies or activities? And that's something that people don't typically think about, but that's a big part of your life. And it goes into looking for a community, making sure that you fulfill those needs. Also what's important to you, and then maybe what's important to your spouse. Sometimes looking for a couple, they have different things that are important to them. So finding something that's a good fit for both of them. And then talking about the financial aspect. The financial aspect is something that people don't often plan for and don't think about, and have really no idea how much it costs for senior living in the Bay Area. And so I spend a great amount of time walking them through what are different ways people pay for senior living, and then talking through their financial situation to see if they qualify for anything that helps pay for assisted living. And then that also gives me an idea of, okay, these are their needs and their wants, and then this is the financial budget.
So you got these two things that you're working on
Mhm.
simultaneously.
Yeah. And then that helps me to know what is an appropriate community for them to go into.
Mhm.
I would hate to, give them the most grandest community, but they're only able to stay there for a year. So as I'm working with them, I'm really thinking long term for them so
Mhm.
that they're not caught in a situation that they don't want to be in, and that the place that they end up choosing, they can stay there and really enjoy their life.
It occurs to me as I'm listening to you, it sounds like you, obviously you're asking questions, but you do a lot of listening, right?
Yes, I do.
Because,
That's important.
Mhm. Yeah, my experience working with senior living
Mhm.
communities is that one of the major complaints that older people have sometimes is that people don't listen to them. They
Yeah.
to consider whatever they are, it's not important, that they don't have a value, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I learned a lot of that growing up with my grandparents, and
Hmm.
my father always telling me,
Your father was an
listen.
unusual person, by the way,
Yeah,
in a
he
very
is.
good way.
Yeah. Listen to their stories, show the utmost respect to them. He would always drill that into me. And, I sat back and I listened. And I think that has really shaped me as an individual, where I have a very calm demeanor, probably because I spent so much time listening to seniors and their wisdom,
Mhm.
that I really enjoy it. I love listening to the stories. I love helping the families to find the perfect fit for them. And I can't find the perfect fit for them until I hear them, until I listen to them.
Right. So once the client moves in, how often is the follow-up with them? How do you check in with them?
I'm with them the entire process. There's a lot of variables that go in to a person moving into a senior living community. But even that initial day, I'm facilitating everything. I'm making sure that the movers have their schedule, that the community has all of their documentations, that the family has the support with any last minute items that need to be done. And then, usually the next day I check in to make sure, hey, how did everything go for you? And then I'll check in maybe about another 3 weeks. As you're adjusting, there's an adjustment period for everybody. And so checking in at that time, and then having that relationship continue, because sometimes, you move in and you learn that, well, that wasn't as important to me as something else. And
Mhm.
so, it's a learning process. And, I want to be that support system for them. And because I'm local, I often see the families that I have helped place in the communities as I'm touring new clients. And I love that
Yeah.
because I get to, go up and give them a hug and see the progression of their loved one and see them really thriving in the community that I help them find. And then, 6 months and a year, and just maintaining that open relationship and that connection as time goes by is important to me.
I see. So now a big question, I'm sure most people, it's probably their first question, even though it shouldn't be, is a concern about how much it costs to work with you. How do you
Sure.
guys handle that?
Yeah, and that's really important. And that's definitely a part of my initial conversation, because all of these things sound amazing. Well, how much does it cost? The good thing is that there is no cost for the families or the seniors associated with
Huh?
working with me. It is absolutely free, which I love because they get to utilize my industry expertise and knowledge to help expedite the process for their loved one. And the way that I am compensated is when their senior parent moves into a community, that community and I have an agreed upon percentage that they give me for helping that loved one to find the community and helping them through the process.
Well, so that seems pretty clean. And I think it's
Mhm.
probably always a pleasant surprise that they don't have to worry about that. That's
Yeah.
something you're doing with whoever you're placing them with.
Yeah.
That's
They're
good.
they're always really happy about that, and they're on board, and I
Mhm.
think it's fantastic that that's one less thing that they have to think about.
Right. So, do you offer placement services for all types of senior living? I mean, you have independent
Mhm.
all the way through to nursing care, but do you
Yeah.
handle all of that or not necessarily?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone is in a unique situation with different care needs. And I really spend a lot of time learning um, what would be their appropriate fit, but then also coaching them through the different types of senior living and helping them to understand what each different type is, and then what would be most applicable to their loved one,
Mhm.
and then helping them through that process, as each one does have a unique process to go through. But we work with independent living, assisted living, boarding cares, which is a smaller type of an
Right.
assisted living, memory care communities specific to dementia, skilled nursing. And then, I often, on a daily, weekly basis, also work with home care professionals when someone isn't quite ready to move into a community, but they want to have the conversation about it, but maybe they need a little bit of help right away. I have close colleagues that I know and that I trust that have provided care for my clients that, I can recommend, and a host of professionals to really help with all the variables. So, yeah.
I think what you're saying is that home care is often an interim step for people. They're
Mhm.
not ready to do the whole thing right now, but they definitely realize that they need some help. And
Mhm.
it's a bridge, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. So, who's your best referral source? I mean, is it the seniors themselves? Is it executives in the senior living community? How do people find out about you?
Yeah, so both actually. And, I have a lot of different referral sources, but those who know me personally, are one of my best referral sources, as they know and have worked with me, and they understand that the level of quality that I like to provide for my clients. But, really the best are the families that I've helped, and they really sing my praises, and they refer me to their friends and family, and a lot of repeat business. And I certainly have a lot of those clients, and I'm really really happy for that, because you would only refer your friends and family to someone that you know and trust. So I really value those
That is
referrals.
so great. I mean, those are, well, as you know, because you've worked on sales and marketing side too. I mean, those referrals are gold. I mean,
Yes.
that's really, if you've got
Yeah.
that pipeline going, you got a good thing going, So
Hmm.
yeah. And so let's talk a little about the communities that you serve. So you work with cities and counties in and around the San Francisco Bay Area. And since you are hyper local, how do these cities differ in terms of, the types of communities they offer, the local laws and regulations that govern them,
Hmm.
and the type of people requesting your services? How are they different?
So as far as the regulations, within the Bay Area, we're within California. So California regulations for senior living communities is much the same, which is really helpful. So that, wherever I go, whatever county, I know what the expectation and the standards are. But definitely from each county to each city in the Bay Area is unique. And, there are different things to different people in each county and different type of lifestyles. And so knowing all of these different areas is important. And, we currently serve, San Francisco County, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Alameda, Contra Costa, but we've greatly expanded, and we've had clients and currently have clients in Marin, in Sonoma, and even
Oh, okay.
Santa
So you've
Cruz.
opened up that area as well.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
terrific. That's so wonderful. So um, I've also heard that you're growing your staff. Am I right about that?
Yeah, and I'm so happy about that. We have grown recently a lot, and through a lot of referral sources and a lot of repeat business from other families that I have helped with placement services. And I added two people to my team recently, and they are close colleagues that I've known for years and that I trust and have expertise and a great length in the senior living industry. And we've been doing really well and been able to help a lot of different seniors and their families.
I want to ask you kind of a personal question. And the
Mhm.
reason I want to ask it is because I know, because I know you, that you
Mhm.
have a baby boy,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he's the joy of your life.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
but I think a lot of our viewers, and women in particular, would, what advice can you give to women who might be struggling to balance their work life with their home life?
It definitely is a challenge. And I think right now is probably the most challenging time in my life as far as being busy. Not only do I have my baby boy, my 1.5-year-old, but I have one on the way, and we'll
Well,
have a little girl.
congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And that with, having, my own business is a lot. It certainly is. And I very much value my time, and I try to be very intentional with if I am working. I am working and I am knocking things out, and I am being responsive to my clients and the healthcare professionals that I work with. And I'm being sure that I close the loop of communication so that I'm responding and no one is waiting for any type of information or any feedback from me. So that when I am with my family, that my time is for my family and that I can really devote to that. And I'm not having to do last minute things because I didn't get them done during the day. So closing that loop of communication to make sure all of my clients are taken care of and all of the professionals have exactly what they need before they even ask me is really important. And so that means that I'm constantly doing things to make sure everybody's happy. And being intentional, waking up a little bit earlier to spend that time with my son
Yeah.
and giving him, my 100% of my attention at different times of the day, and being present with him really helps. And I think also having a really good support system, and that might look different for different people, but I think I certainly couldn't be able to do it without my husband, who's a major support. And he really makes it easy for me to run the company, and then spend time when I'm not running the company with my son so that I'm not missing out on that time. And then, additional family support, like, my mother-in-law who watches my baby boy so that I can work. And so finding who your support systems are and leaning on them and, trying to appreciate them.
Well, Theo's a terrific guy, and
Yeah. Thank you.
I know he's very family oriented,
Yes. Yes, he is.
and that includes his whole family, his
Hmm.
mother and father and all
Yeah,
relatives
they
that he has.
are.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah. Well, let's just sort of on a broader question, and that's, do you have any kind of final thoughts on the future of senior living and the role that you hope to play?
Yeah, we are certainly in a very interesting time for senior living. And I've watched it evolve over, the past 20 years. But, having, coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people really held off on moving into senior living because, it was quite a crazy time. And there was so much going on. But now people are a little bit more comfortable and open to moving into a senior living community. And
Mhm.
that means a couple different things because seniors have put off moving in. Some of them are not as, some of them are not as in as good shape as they were a couple years ago. So they're moving in with more care needs, which we're finding that the communities are really trying to support and make sure that they have the adequate staffing to support them. And then those who are maybe still hesitant, they are looking at making that decision. With that, a lot of communities unfortunately have a lower occupancy rate because people stop moving into senior living communities. And that greatly works to the favor of the senior because they have more options, and the
Yeah.
communities are really doing a fantastic job with promoting more services that are more attractive and making it an easier process and to really work for the senior. And so since more seniors now are moving into senior living than the past couple of years, a lot of them are really searching for that information of looking for senior living. And so they're really leaning on their healthcare professionals. So myself and my team, we're really focused on being sure to provide a lot of education to the professionals around us that work with the seniors, the senior population in the Bay Area. I think there's a long way to go, but the healthcare professionals are who the seniors are leaning on and are really, well connected, rather than going online and, even still trying to have an online presence so that people can find us. But it's often a little bit difficult as we're competing with large national brands to have that online presence. So, doing the best that we can with being sure that the local professionals, the doctors and the hospitals and the senior community centers are well educated on the type of service and help that we can provide to seniors and their loved ones.
Well, finally, I guess, how can our viewers get in hold of you? How can they find you?
Sure. Yeah, they can give us a call at any time. We operate 7 days a week as senior living doesn't stop and people's health doesn't stop. My phone number is 510-301-7099. Our website, neighborlyseniorplacement.com. We also have a couple different ways that you can contact us online through email or through text, but please don't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, Anita, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your time today and your insights.
Yeah.
I just think there are a lot of people that'll be interested in knowing these things. There's just always so much uncertainty when somebody is faced with, oh gosh, what do I do now? And it's nice to know that there's somebody that they can trust, somebody local, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And thank you, Jeff, for inviting me and having me on. I greatly appreciate it. And you've been a tremendous help to me in growing my business as well.
Well, look, thank you very much again for being part of the Senior Beat.
Thank you.